Hi, welcome to Tea with Mali. Today we have Debijo Wheatley, a dear friend of mine, and she's going to share something very powerful, very passionate around the work that she's doing for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. She is also the founder of Designs by Debijo, and I'm delighted to have her back here on Tea with Mali.
Thank you, Mali. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the journey before you had this opportunity with Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS, I guess that is the shorter version of it. Talk about how you got nominated. You know, how did they find you? Did you find them? And then from there, why did they choose you?
It was actually kind of a fluke. I was at a networking luncheon, seated at a table with a number of women, and one of the women had been a nominee for LLS Woman of the year previous. And she and I got talking, and we ended up having lunch, and I told her my story. I told her what had happened to Howard. And she said, I really need to put you in front of the LLS committee. So I ended up having coffee with the woman running the organization and the Man and Woman of the Year campaign. And after she heard the story, she just said, we want you as a nominee. She goes, I'm not even bringing it in front of the committee. The intriguing part of it is that I was nominated 2 days prior to when I was going to bury Howard's ashes at the beach.
Wow.
So it was almost serendipitous that I was chosen then.
Well, tell our audience a little bit about the history. You know, you were in nursing and then you basically found this man in your life, or talk about the journey. How did you meet Howard, for those that, you know, didn't get a chance to really meet him, and the journey of what he went through with you?
Okay. Well, I met him in a bar in 1979. That's what you did then. There was no internet, no dating sites or anything, so you met in bars. We married in 1984, and I was in nursing at the time, and in 1991, prior to us going on a trip, he became ill. He went to get checked out, and it turned out he had chronic lymphocytic leukemia. He was started on chemo right away. We didn't know it was going to happen. He was given a prognosis, usually with CLL, was 10 to 12 years. You'll hear by the end of this that he actually lived for 20 years. Fighting through this and all with complications and a lot of chemo and stuff, but we actually lived our life during that time. We took vacations. We had 3 grandchildren born during that time. And during that time too, when he was going through this and retired and the economy's in the toilet, I started a business on top of all this. But because of my nursing background, I was able to help him with his chemo at home. We didn't always have to go into the doctor's office. I was actually able to start his IVs and run the chemo. When he was hospitalized, being a nurse, I was able to advocate for him in the hospital, knowing some more. One of my biggest things with anybody going through cancer, or anybody who knows somebody going through that, is that it is so important to have an advocate. It is so important to have 1 or 2 people, even if they aren't technically caring for you, but they're there to listen and to help you to understand what's going on, because so much is being thrown at you as a patient with any type of cancer. It's very difficult. So I felt very blessed, the fact that I am a nurse, that I was able to understand more and be able to talk to the doctors and able to help him a little further than the average person could.
Mm-hmm. How did you feel moving from being a nurse for so many other people and having the experience to cope with all of the, you know, the stress and the drama for the family, and here you are, it's your own family, it's your own husband. I mean, how did that feel for you to, yes, be a nurse, but also now be a wife of someone who's going through something like this?
As a nurse, whenever you're in the hospital and things are happening, and bad things do happen, but you have to be there for your patients, you have to be there for the families. You put yourself in a zone of not to react all the time, but to act. And I found myself doing that. But then late at night, when everything was quiet and he was asleep, that was when I would react. Wow. That was when it was very difficult for me. It showed in, weight fluctuation, not being able to concentrate on things I wanted to concentrate on, such as painting. And I was very fortunate to have help from a number of friends and family, and some of them being nurses. But still, it just still fell on me as well. I was told during this time, it's like, Mrs. Wheatley, you need to be a wife, not a nurse.
Right.
I couldn't shut that off. You know, I had to be both, because I was so afraid for him of things that were happening that I wanted to make sure he was getting the best care possible, and which he was. We had fabulous doctors. I mean, he really got excellent care, but you still want to make sure that everything's being done exactly as it should be done.
How is life living, I should say, with leukemia? How is that as a caretaker? How is that, you know, emotionally, when Howard would talk to you about his experience? So what happens when you have anticipatory death upon you? Because that is something that many people are going through in the world, and I lived it also with my father. A very short time. You had 20 years, I had 3 weeks. But it's a different kind of process, and I would love for you to be able to at least enlighten some folks that are probably going through that right now. How do you make it bearable?
Well, every time he went through chemo, and he went through, I was trying to keep track one day, it's like 7 or 8 rounds of chemo in that 20 years, meaning a year on, year off, year on, maybe half a year off. We would always talk during that time. Okay, what if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't happen? What's our plan? And we would come up with a plan. At the end of that chemo, he was like, well, I'm not feeling so bad. I was like, okay, let's go on vacation. So I remember our 10-year anniversary, he was getting chemo, and he goes, I really want us to do something. I said, well, we really can't do it now. But he looked into it, and he set us up for a trip to Australia in December, and we went for a month, which was wonderful. You know, so we dealt with what we had to do with the chemo and the cancer as it was going on. But when he was feeling good, we just dealt with life, and we enjoyed it. Now, we weren't stupid. We made sure we had wills. We made sure we had things said. So there was not going to be any question, you know, about what should or shouldn't happen. But we lived with it. And there was only one point where I thought I was going to lose him 2 years prior to his passing, that I was in kind of a panic state, because they wanted to do certain tests, and I wasn't sure if they were going to work, and I wasn't sure why they would want to do those tests. So from a wife's standpoint, I would have said, yes, just do them. But from a nurse's standpoint, I was like, I'm not too sure. Right. So I had, you know, the doctors around me and the nurses, and we really talked and, you know, made a decision of what was the best for him. And then he came out of it, and he went home the day after his 70th birthday. And it was awesome. You know, we went away, you know, on vacation, and right after that, we had one of my favorite pictures taken of us 3 weeks after that, and he looked fabulous. Mm-hmm. So I guess my point is that you can't stop living. You know, there are times in the segments of what you're going through that, you know, it's important to stay focused, you know, not lose hope. But then when things are okay, enjoy your life, because things are going to keep happening around you, whether you want them to happen or not. Right. You know, life is going to go on, and you want to be a part of that. You don't want to lose that part.
So how did you grieve? What was the process like for you once he passed, and, you know, the family gathers around you, and you have all kinds of wonderful support, and then it's time for realities to sit in? How does that happen? How do you get back to your life?
Well, since I had my own business, I kind of had to keep working. I went back to it 3 weeks after he passed. It was very difficult. I was referred to someone. They did not know what had just happened, so I met with them. And after talking to them, this client was like, you know, I'm really excited. I really want you to do a proposal for us, but I'm pretty sure we're going to use you. And I said, okay, well, let me explain to you what has happened. I said, will not affect my work, but I might have an off day here or there, but you need to be aware of it. And I told her that my husband had passed 3 weeks previous. And she was like, oh, and you're talking to me and you're doing this? I said, well, I love my work. I said, so if I'm working, I'm happy. And her response to that was, we're going to keep you very, very busy, wow. Which they did. A couple of things I did, and I did with the grandkids, and I would do on my own. At Howard's Memorial, everybody said, you know, we want to do a book so people coming can sign this book. And I'm like, I don't want a book because I'm going to have to keep the book. And if I don't keep the book, then I'm a bad person. So I needed to do something that would honor him and let people feel good that they had written something. So we had 24 balloons, and we had about 170 people at the memorial at my house, and everybody wrote something to Howard on the balloon. And then my grandson Adam cut the balloons, and we all watched them go to him. So 2 weeks later would have been our 27th wedding anniversary. So I got a balloon, and I wrote him a letter, and I let it go early in the morning. And I do the same thing on his birthday and on the anniversary of when he passed, just to let him know how things are going. You know, it's like, you know, doing good down here, you know, would be much better with you here, but this is what's happening, and just know that you're still loved.
Yeah. It's amazing the things that we have to find in order to cope with loss, with the journey of how do we get back to our reality. Right. The world doesn't stop. The sun comes up the next day, even though you don't feel the sun at all in your life. And I just find it fascinating because somehow the human spirit allows it to happen. Somehow we get up out of bed, somehow we get it through the shower, somehow we make it. And it's fascinating for me to listen to the stories upon stories of the people that come through my life in whatever capacity that is. And I just am so impressed by the capacity of the human heart and the human spirit. And we've known each other for a long time. And to watch how much you've blossomed. You know, I had the great honor of meeting Howard, so I feel like I've been on this journey with you, and I have to say, it's really darn impressive that you're sitting here doing something like this in his honor. And so I want to say thank you for that, because it's an inspiration to me as well, knowing that every day I have to continue moving forward with life. So thank you. So, you know, moving into what we came here today to discuss is, you know, why did you accept this nomination for Woman of the Year with LLS? You know, was it a hard decision? Is it hard to share this journey with strangers, asking them to support someone that they never met? And why would you put yourself through this?
I did have to think about it because I knew it was going to be a big undertaking. And then it just came to me, you know, it would be great to win. I mean, basically, it's the one who raises the most money wins. But the upside of this, once you get to $50,000, you can have a research grant done in the person's name who you are honoring doing this. And I can't think of anything greater than the fact that Howard's name may be on a research grant that could help somebody someday. I mean, to me, that's huge. So that's my biggest goal. So in doing that for him, it was not hard to say yes. It's extremely hard to ask for money. I've never done very well at that. And it's very hard to talk about myself. I'm very good at talking about other people, selling other things. But when it comes to selling our story, I don't think it's that hard, because the people that have heard me speak or have read what I've written, they've all gone through something like this. Maybe not themselves, but they've seen somebody go through this, and they've never really realized what those people are going through. So many people that heard the story said to me, you did this for 20 years? We didn't realize it. It's like, well, we didn't let this take over our lives. But there were many things that were very difficult during that time. It is hard to share, but I also think it's healing and it's cleansing. And I'm hoping it will help some other caregivers to say, you know, it's okay to be mad at the person who's sick. It's okay to say, why me? It's okay to do that. But then you kind of get through it and keep going, because you're only human. It's not going to be an easy journey for either party. And so I'm hoping that maybe a caregiver will hear this story and say, wow, you know, that wasn't easy, because people look at me and say, oh my God, you did so wonderful. What a wonderful, you know, life you had and everything. It's like, people have no idea. You know, they don't know, they did not know how incredibly hard it was at times. And I just didn't share all the time.
So what are some of the ways now that people are rallying and supporting you? I know you have a team that supports you. I know you have family and friends who are at first in awe that you're doing this in the first place, and then secondly, they're congratulating you because it's such a great honor to be nominated. You know, out here in the Washington, D.C. area, there are so many people who have similar stories. Not exactly, no one ever has the same story. But to be nominated, it's a great honor, you know, so I know everyone's proud of you. But how are people supporting you to get the word out there? And then secondly, how are people able to support you?
Well, the biggest thing that's been helping me the most is social media. I mean, that's always a given, you know, between Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, you know, that's been helping get the word out. My team has been getting the word out to everybody they know, their friends and family. I mean, it is about raising money, and not everybody has a lot to give. And I always say it's that little bit that helps. You never know when that $10 is going to put you over that $50,000 mark. It's not about always the big money, though that's nice and helps move you forward faster. It's about whatever anybody can do. Some people are hosting third-party events. There's one is doing a girls' night out at her house with her daughter and her daughter's friends and her friends, and they basically said it's going to be a fundraiser. Bring $20. You know, they'll provide food and wine and stuff. Somebody else is doing a jewelry party. A friend of mine in New York on May 18th is doing something at Black Bear Winery, and her son, who is my godson, who's a chef, he's doing all the hors d'oeuvres. So it's going to be so much for a tasting, and then they're having food there, and they'll have raffle prizes, and they're doing this all to raise money for Howard to get the grant for him. We are having a big golf tournament, and we are having a big family fun fest, because it's not only about Howard, who had leukemia. There's a lot of children out there that have leukemia. Now, they're making great strides in childhood leukemia. The kids are living longer, and there are better cure rates, there are better chemos. That doesn't mean it's not difficult for them. So the hope is the boy and girl of the year, who we have come to the events, and the poor kids, you know, everything's so adult. And I told Riley, who is the girl of the year, she's 8, she has ALL, she's going through chemo now, will end in June, and she is just a delight. I told her, I said, we're having a family fun fest. I go, we're gonna have moon bounce, and we're having cotton candy. And she was just like, bring it on. She's so excited. So we have things like that going on. A friend's daughter is having lemonade stands, and she's selling little bracelets she made. She's raised $100. There, you know, there's many different ways. You know, there's corporate want to do a party at their place. I'll go anywhere. Denise David, she's doing something at her agency. She's having, you know, an open night, open afternoon, open house to see her business and to meet me and to raise money.
Are you still collecting items that people donate for Charitybuzz and all these other great...
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because there might be some businesses out there, corporations out there who have something they want to donate as a part of their branding, but that can support you. Yeah,
Charitybuzz, that's something that was brought to my attention, you know, as part of this whole LLS. I met with the woman who is the sales rep down here for it, and what Charitybuzz does is offers online auctioning, and it goes around the country, which is amazing. Most of the things that go tend to be experiential. Most people will spend money on that. But if there's items, they have to be at least worth about $500, you know, to get it. They take a little percentage of it. However, they do all the work. So it's great. So we have 3 things on there right now. We have a backstage to the Today Show with Hoda and Kathy Lee and wine with them. We have tickets for 8 on the floor of the stock exchange. And then our big one is yours. Miss Molly has put up one of her SOAR retreats on there. So I hope people are going in and looking at all that. So it's, you know, it's a way for companies or other people to give back without actually having to give any money. Now, it is also up to the person that buys that to make arrangements to get to wherever the thing is. So that's, you know, it does not fall on the person that is offering this. I think next week we have a yacht cruise and lunch out of San Diego. That's going to be going on.
That's
so
fantastic.
It would be up to that person to get out to San Diego.
Right.
But my feel is if people are bidding on these things, it's something they really want to do, and they'll put it in their bucket list and go do it.
Yeah.
So.
Do you want to also talk about your book?
Yes,
Okay,
I would
you
like
brought your
to.
book.
So yeah, I brought my book with me. It's basically called Journey of Love, Living with Leukemia. I went to Italy last year for 5 weeks, and my goal was to put together everything from the journals that I had kept with Howard while he was sick, which I always recommend people to do.
Right.
And I realized I wanted to write a book. It's not a big book, but it's 20 years of our journey. And in it, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly in there. The things that didn't go so well, the things that did, what kind of happened at the end. It was my way of telling my story. So I'm basically using this to give out to anyone that's interested in making donations so they can understand the story, or you can email me. I have a PDF of it that I can send as well. So I think when people read it, they understand then why I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. Because there's 10 women and 10 men in the capital area that are raising money for this during this 10-week period. So, why would you want to support me?
Right.
In the end, you're supporting all of LLS,
mm-hmm.
but supporting me to get this for Howard.
And you also have a place for people who may not have met you to also go and learn more about the story, watch a video also, and then make donations as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that website and the making of the website?
Yeah. Well, as you know, you helped me make the video for the website. Molly pulled a lot of stuff out of me, went to a couple of places that were very important to Howard and I, especially down in Old Town Alexandria, where we spent a lot of our time. The site itself is www.forhowardlls.com. And on that, you can donate, you can see upcoming events, but you can also see the video and learn more exactly about why I'm doing what I'm doing. We've had great success with this site. People are coming in and donating. I don't even know who they are. So luckily I do get email addresses so I can send a note and say, thank you so much. I don't know you. How did you find out about this? But thank you so much for coming in and donating. Besides the people that I do know that donate, it's kind of amazing. Mm-hmm. So it's, but I think the video and the book are both very powerful. I think you will be able to understand exactly my reason for this.
Right. And beyond your story with Howard, I know that being a part of the LLS support community, because you've done a lot of support work, mm-hmm. Not only with LLS, but you also help a lot of other nonprofits that your friends run and that you really believe in. You're out there constantly doing work. So it's kind of fitting that you've given so much to the community and now people are really rallying and giving to you. So I think that's a really great play on karma, right? The
yes.
fact that you've been doing so much. Mm-hmm. And, with the LLS campaign, besides getting Howard's name on the grant, I know that there's a deeper reason why you're really working as hard as you are, because, no one who's nominated has to do this. Right. I mean, you chose it. You said, mm-hmm. yes, thank you for the nomination. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take on this task of raising this money to find a cure, to bring more money in for research. Mm-hmm. On a bigger, grander scale, why are you doing this? It's a lot of work.
I think it's my mission. I really do. I don't, I didn't come into this, I could be Woman of the Year, get my face on a bus. It was more, wow, I can maybe make a difference. I can finally figure out a way to give back after all we've been through. It really is more about raising money for research, because it's, all of us are going to be touched by cancer in our lives, whether it's us or a family member or close friend, but it's just not something that's not going to happen. And I just feel that there needs to be, if not an actual cure for what I'm doing right now, but maybe they'll come up with something that can keep things stable. People have cancer. They've done it with diabetes. They haven't cured diabetes, but they have the drugs and they're constantly coming up with the different insulins and stuff so that people can can live quality lives. And that's my goal, is that if people do have cancer, that it doesn't stop them, that they're still able to live a quality life. And I'm hoping this money will fund research for that.
When you hit this goal, and possibly when you win, what happens next for you? What are you looking forward to beyond the nomination, beyond the Woman of the Year? You know, what's upon the horizon for you, the woman, Debijo?
There's a couple things. It's something that I've been thinking in the back of my mind, mainly working with hospice. From my design standpoint, what can I do to make somebody else's journey that much more comfortable in their home or afterwards? Also, you know, functional design. What can I do for those baby boomers or people with disabilities? Stay in their home. How can we design their home that they're in, that they love, that they don't have to leave? I'm kind of gearing myself towards that. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time, and it kind of melds nursing and design, because you know, you want people to be in their homes, and you want them to be in places where they feel safe. And I think that's something I can do. It's something I'm thinking about. I, you know, will probably continue to work with LLS. I've always given to it anyway, but I think I will. They say once you're involved, you know, they don't let you go. Right. So I have a feeling I'll be involved with them for a very long time. But I really want this to mean something more than just, wow, we got the grant, or wow, I won, or wow, this. I really want to do something with my life that may impact other people with medical disabilities or their caregivers. How can we make it easier for them and make their life a little simpler?
Mm-hmm. If you could think of one or two wonderful opportunities or advice for people out there that are currently caregivers, because you played that role so brilliantly in about 20 years, what would some of the advice be when they're in the midst of it all?
First of all, I tell everybody to keep a journal. I tell everyone to. I said, whether you ever read it again, it doesn't matter. If you're mad, go write it down. If you're sad, write it down, because so many caregivers try to bottle up. Second is take care of yourself and realize that if you need a day away or you need something, you are not abandoning who you're caring for. Right. You are taking care of yourself so you can continue to care for them, because they still need you. And when people offer to help, say yes. It's very hard to ask for help. People will offer, and then if you keep saying no, people are going to stop offering. Right. And then you're going to get frustrated that you never have any time. Say yes. And know that this is going to be a journey. It may be a long one, it may be a short one. But if you don't care for yourself, you're not going to be able to care for your loved one. And it can be, though at times sad, a very beautiful experience that you have with the person you love.
Mm-hmm. How do you honor Howard today? Like, what are some of the things, the rituals in which that you still feel connected, but you're also learning and you're also releasing so you can move forward with your life?
I talk to him a lot in my head. And every Sunday when I go to church, I light a candle after communion and kind of go over the week with him and let him know what's coming up, you know, who he needs to watch out for, you know, the girls or the grandkids, or, you know, if somebody's sick or somebody's having a hard time, I always ask him, please, you know, if you're not busy, keep an eye on them and make sure everything goes okay. He's just, I'll never forget him. I mean, it's just, he's still just ingrained in me. I have met somebody who has been very supportive of this whole journey. Thank goodness. You know, he's helping me a lot with the golf tournament, and has been a real support. And it can't be easy for him. It really cannot be, because he hears me talk about my love for Howard all the time. But that doesn't mean you don't have the capacity to love others as well. But it's, you know, I still do the balloons. I still write him notes. You know, I have, his ashes are gone, but I have a particular little bit of him with a photo that will always be with me. You know, he's, you know, all my pictures. He's still a part of my life, you know, and I see it in the grandchildren all the time.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, share with us how people can really rally and support you over the next few weeks, because how many weeks is the campaign?
The campaign is 10 weeks. It actually ends June 14th, 6 p.m.
Okay.
We've got that down.
It's really good to know.
So you'll be hearing a couple different ways. Give money. You know, any little bit helps. And if you can't give, you may know somebody else that can. You know, if you can share the story with them. Pass it on. Like I said, do you know 10 people that can give $10? That's $100.
Right.
You know, if you look at it in that way, it's short little spurts, but it's kind of, you know, what built this country, you know, in little bits at a time. If you want to have an event, if you want to donate, if you have gift cards that you'd be willing to donate, we kind of use them as incentives for people to, you know, raise more money and stuff. And we're going to be having a number of events where they can be raffled off.
Well, I think also on Facebook you have an actual page, right? So people can go on there. There's millions of people on Facebook. So for those that are watching, you know, certainly go on and your Facebook page, Debijo Wheatley campaign for LLS. You can just search and type that and share the page, share the experience. I think that'll help. And then again, will you give us the website again?
Sure. It's www.forhowardlls.com.
Any final thoughts, Debijo? Anything that you want to say to, you know, the public to really rally this opportunity? You have this chance to really speak your mind and your heart.
First of all, it's just thank you to so many people have rallied for this. I mean, it has been amazing, the people that have come forward to help and people I don't know. You know, and everybody thinks this is never going to happen to them. So if you have that $5 to give it, because you know someday you may be in the same spot where you need assistance, and you want to have that research, you want to have the drugs available, the treatment available to extend your life, extend your quality.
And perhaps even find that cure.
Exactly.
You know,
it's there.
It's
that cure is
reach.
there. It's there. You know, we're seeing it in a lot with LLS. Like I said, with the children, we're seeing so much more. You know, kids that are getting ALL are living quality lives. You know, they're getting through it, which is amazing. And I mean, their resilience, if nothing alone, if you actually go to the Man and Woman of the Year site, it's www.mwoy.org. Okay, LLS.org. If you go to that national capital area, you'll meet our Boy and Girl of the Year, Riley and Vishaf, who are, they're a riot. Vishaf finished his treatment, I think it was the end of February, beginning of March. And like I said, Riley has to go through, and hers is 3.5 years, his is 3 years. It's different for boys and girls, how long they go through it. But their families, they're just people next door, you know, and they're lovely, and they're getting hit with this. Riley's dad was deployed, had to be deployed, you know, so the mom, who's a nurse, she's amazing, Tracy, and, you know, Vishav's dad spoke with us at our kickoff, and, you know, and it hits the family, and they have brothers and sisters that are hit with this as well. So if you can go on there and see, read their stories, they're amazing, and that's a lot of why I'm doing it too.
Well, thank you, Debijo. Thank you so much for inspiring me and inspiring all the people out there who are currently rallying for you, and also the new people who are going to watch this and really think that it's brilliant what you're doing, and maybe even, you know, find you a true inspiration to keep going, because we never know the ripple effect of what we do for our own purpose and how that can serve our community. So I commend you, and I really appreciate you teaching me so much through this process of healing and grieving. And I've been touched by cancer many times in my life, and it's just phenomenal that when we come together and have a place where you can cry and can share and, you know, can lend support, and it doesn't have to be monetarily. It's just an opportunity for us to help each other in any way possible. It can change everything for that person who's battling, the families, and even the entire community. So again, thanks for being on Tea with Mali.
Thank you, Mali. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Join us next time on Tea with Mali.